Hello, it is good to see you again on Weekend File. And on our menu tonight is the 2018 budget, the expectations of Nigerians and the implication of the 8.6 trillion naira budget in the nation's economy moving forward. Good evening and welcome to the program. Last Tuesday, President Muhammadu Buhari presented the 2018 budget to a joint session of the National Assembly, kickstarting the analysis of one of the major, strong and crucial instruments of governance. The President made it clear that the 2018 budget will consolidate on the achievements of the previous one, and that 2018 is expected to be a year of better outcomes, noting that only tailored Nigerian solutions can fix Nigeria's unique problems. The budget also targets the 9% GDP growth, with the revenue projection predicated on crude oil price benchmark of $45 per barrel and daily crude oil production of 2.3 million barrels at 305 naira to a dollar. Now, with the presentation of 8.6 trillion naira 2018 budget, expectations are high among Nigerians, as many wish for a room for the development of the individual in terms of job creation, provision of infrastructure, and sound socio-economic base for the overall development of the nation. Tonight, we will examine these expectations and the implication of the budget on the nation's economic growth. For further analysis on this, you are in a good company. Weekend File, your weekend companion. My name is Kirian Umayo, and on this show, the news always comes first. Strategies to help revive Lake Chad from extinction is on top of the agenda the federal government took to the ongoing 39th General Assembly of the United Nations Education and Scientific Cultural Organization, UNESCO, holding in Paris, France. Anthony Forson reports that Nigeria's ministers at the forum say they are collaborating with the global body to canvass for international intervention.
Given the strategic importance of Lake Chad to the survival of over 20 million people, its gradual shrinking and loss of economic activities for livelihood, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the situation calls for a global emergency.
What we are facing today with the Lake Chad issue is that over 20 million people are endangered. It's not just about Nigeria. And with the Lake Chad now being reduced to 1/10 of what it used to be, it means that fishing, agriculture, livestock have all but died. And of course, the repercussion is not just that there will be famine. That is why we are appealing to not just UNESCO, but all people of goodwill to help Nigeria in this very ambitious project to reflate the lake.
From 1974 to date, the lake has shrunk by more than 90%. Yeah? And that is a serious issue. So, from a hydrological point of view, you shudder to think what will happen in the next 30-40 years.
We've also tried to identify possible partners that will be interested. There are countries that have for a long time invested in that area, countries like France, Germany. We're also looking towards China, the Africa Development Bank, for example. So we're all trying to galvanize all these efforts.
The Lake Chad Basin is regarded as one of the most important agricultural heritage sites in the world, which provides lifeline for over 20 million people in border countries of Cameroon, Nigeria, Chad, and Niger. From Paris, France, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Ministry of Water Resources says it will concentrate on inherited projects so as to maximize the investments made in the short term. The Minister Suleiman Adamu gave the indication while rendering an account of his stewardship. Victor Azo reports.
2015, President Muhammadu Buhari took the decision to give the water sector its pride of place by carving out the Ministry of Water Resources as a full-fledged ministry.
Rules and regulations have been set, processes have been put in place, and they must be followed strictly.
Exactly 2 years ago, on September 11, 2015, the President appointed Suleiman Adamu, an engineer with sectoral experience, to preside over the affairs of the ministry. One of the first major strides of the Suleiman Adamu-led ministry was to generate the Water Sector Roadmap 2016 to 2030 to chart a long-term course for the development of the sector. 2 years down the line, there is an approved National Water Resources Policy and Strategy, with the accompanying National Water Resources Bill receiving attention at the National Assembly. The bill, when passed into law, is expected to address a number of issues in the water sector, including provision for effective catchment management and greater participation of farmers in irrigation management.
In addition, we have commenced the Graduate Youth Farmers Empowerment Program in all the river basin development authorities, riding on the Songhai model and aimed at engaging carefully selected participants in batches of 50 to be trained in various agricultural activities.
The ministry, in the period under review, also initiated the National Irrigation Development Program, which is intended to aid economic diversification, guarantee food security, and generate employment.
In the last 2 years, we have made concrete steps to revitalize our river basin development authorities, which were established to boost agricultural production in the country.
The minister assures that the challenges of improved access to water supply and sanitation in the country have been properly diagnosed, and efforts are ongoing to improve the situation. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
And the report just reaching our news desk says that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the Benin Industrial Park will complement the efforts of the federal government in its drive to diversify the economy. He said this while performing the groundbreaking of the industrial park in Iyanomo Ipoba Oka local government area of Edo State. Good luck, Enaini reports.
Joy of the people of Iyanomo knew no bound when the governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, led the vice president, Mr. Yemi Osinbajo, and other dignitaries to the community to perform the groundbreaking. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who described the industrial park as in tandem with the efforts of the federal government to grow the nation's economy, apart from oil, noted that the 200 billion naira project will change the face of Edo and by extension add economic value to the nation's economy, while calling on investors to take advantage of the opportunity being provided by the state government. The vice president commended the state governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, for the laudable initiative.
There is no doubt that this industrial park, upon completion, will unleash the economic potentials of this city. It will change the face of Edo State and immensely contribute to the growth of Nigeria's manufacturing base. Let me assure you that the federal government will give all the needed support to bring this landmark project to fruition.
Governor Obaseki explained that the design of the park, which is in line with the 21st century technology, is to be executed under a public-private partnership arrangement.
The design of the internal infrastructure of this industrial park conforms to world standards, and our expectation is that our co-developers will brand and market this park to attract world-class companies, many of whom have already expressed interest.
The State Commissioner for Wealth Creation, Cooperative and Employment, Mr. Emmanuel Uso, and the contractor in charge of the project, Marayana, in their separate remarks, said the establishment of the multi-product park will add value to the economy of the states.
I pray that God will give us the wisdom, and we the people of Iyanomo and the neighboring communities to coexist and to pilot this new development in Benin. Good luck in Aini. NTA News.
Now to defense matters. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olanishake, has inaugurated 20 gunboats for the Nigerian Navy for maritime crime control. Kelvin Ubechi reports that the inauguration held at NNS Delta Parade Ground in Warri.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, said the 20 newly and locally constructed gunboats will give the Nigerian Navy a better platform for credible presence at the Nigerian waters. He reiterated that the Nigerian Armed Forces is ready to tackle any violent group that will disrupt the peace, progress and unity of the country.
Thus, the growing importance of the maritime environment and the centrality of maritime security for national the maintenance of the Royal Navy, notwithstanding the tremendous cost and plan.
Of Naval Staff, Ibok Ete Ekwe Ibas, noted that the aim of acquiring the gunboats is to promote local content and make the maritime frontiers safer with fights against maritime terrorism, sea piracy, bunkering, trafficking, and other sea crimes.
Narrow the capability gaps in enhancing security of the maritime spaces that are difficult or impossible for capital ships to operate, especially in the backwaters, cracks, and harbor approaches.
We as a state are very optimistic that giving these gunboats will enhance the Nigerian Navy's maritime operations in Delta states, as well as the way of protecting our Commonwealth.
The 20 gunboats, comprising 16 patrol and 4 reef boats, fortified with bulletproof sound communication system and 400 horsepower engine for easy navigation. From Warri, Kelvin Ugochi, NTA News.
For the Nigerian economy to thrive on a stable financial system, evidenced by increased depositor confidence in the banking sector, developing jurisprudence in the area of deposit insurance, bank insolvency and liquidation have been identified as key factors. This forms the topic for discussion at the 2017 Sensitization Seminar for Federal High Court Judges, organized by the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation in Abuja. Ali Tukur reports.
One of the prerequisites for building public confidence of depositors in the banking system is deposit insurance. This makes the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, the tool through such service can be rendered. But since its establishment, the corporation has faced many challenges, from the misconception of the public concerning the functions and activities of the corporation to the poor understanding of the basic principles of the deposit insurance system. These challenges are responsible for unclaimed deposits following bank closure, judgments being obtained against the corporation for the liabilities of closed banks, as well as the attachment of the corporation's assets and the garnishee of its corporate accounts in bid to enforce judgments obtained against closed banks. To overcome this, the corporation sensitized the judicial officers on the need to ensure that these challenges no longer cause delay in dispensation of justice.
In our pursuit to reposition the corporation for operational excellence and to actualize our vision of becoming the leading deposit insurance in the world by 2020, we recognize and appreciate the pivotal role played by the judiciary as major stakeholder.
This seminar is therefore structured in a way to capture most of the knotty issues in the deposit insurance law and practice, to include efficacy of deposit insurance in the promotion of financial system stability.
With the theme Challenges to Deposit Insurance Law and Practice, the workshop is the 5th in its series. In Abuja, Aliu Tukur, NTA News.
The Senate Committee on INEC says the November 8, 2017 due for the conduct of the gubernatorial election in Anambra State is sacrosanct. The committee said this on a visit to the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC in Anambra State to ascertain the level of preparations for the election. Joy Ilebu has details.
The Chairman Senate Committee on INEC, Suleiman Nasir, said the committee has visited INEC headquarters Oka, where they were assured of the Commission's readiness to conduct a hitch-free gubernatorial election. He explained that the committee has inspected the card readers and other non-sensitive materials.
We want to assure all Nigerians that the Committee on INEC will continue to do its responsibilities by oversighting INEC and ensuring that they live up to expectation. As you are aware, the 2015 elections were good. we want this one to be much better. And on the issue of card readers, we also inspected the card readers to ensure that they will be functional and there are no problems with the card readers. And the REC has assured us that they are all in good conditions and everything is working and there is enough backup to ensure that the elections are done free and fair.
In response, Governor Willie Obiano said with the assurances of the Senate, he is confident that INEC will live up to expectations.
I'm very confident from the reassurances I got, both from the President, from themselves, from INEC chairman, and from the REC, that we are going to have a very free and fair election.
The Anambra gubernatorial election is slated for November 18, 2017. From Oka, Uchenna Nwekoyo, NTA News.
The federal government has released funds for the construction of airport and railway in Ogun State. The governor of Ogun State, Ibikunle Amosu, disclosed this at the 10th anniversary of Shego Dewami International College and Sports Academy. Lukman Adefeso reports that the airport will be reconstructed in Wasimi area of Ewekuru local government area of the state.
Governor Ibikunle Amosun, who explained that the airport, railway and the road construction would not only expose the Segun Odegbami International College and Sports Academy to the outside world, but also make Wasimi area a commercial hub. While commending the ex-Super Eagles International, Segun Odegbami, the governor pledged his support to the growth of the college.
We will do our bit to complement your efforts. It is things like this that helps the society. No government can do it alone. People of like minds like this can help the government, and you are truly helping us.
Governor Amosu charged notable Nigerians to collaborate with governments at all levels to develop education and sports sectors. The founder of the International College and Sports Academy, Segun Odegbami, said students who have passed through the college in the past 10 years have been outstanding in their performances in various higher institutions.
We have graduated slightly over 100 students in this place in 7 years. Over 100. The 100 plus students that have graduated, a third of them, 35 of them are in American universities and colleges. They are on $50 minimum $1,000 scholarships.
Representatives of Lagos and Ondo State governors commended Segun Odegbami for his initiative in the development of sports, adding that such gesture should be replicated in other states. The Segun Odegbami International College and Sports Academy was rated as one out of the 35 of its kind globally.
You are watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. Now, the issue of budgetary allocation is complicated as it is important to the development process of any nation. And we continue this edition of the program, Correspondents Across the Nation X-ray 2018 Budget, Implications and Expectations of Nigerians. And that's next.
From 1967 to 1970, Nigeria went through a horrifying civil war. It didn't matter who was wrong or right. Everybody suffered. Those who fought that war say it should never happen again.
So a lot of people will say, but you were leading the first one. Yes, I led the first one. I don't think a second one is necessary. We should have learned from that first one. Otherwise the dead would have been to no avail. Would all have been in vain.
The words of our elders are full of wisdom.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
This is phone are dying. Just put this plenty inside.
So these movies are not my phone. They are on Glow.
For real?
Yes, from Nollywood, Hollywood, Bollywood, even Kannywood.
I see they get one pass something.
Get any romantic film.
No.
That kind of film they give me joy.
Cannot DMA take support this popon. You get better one movie.
Yes, I get one movie now.
You get correct American movies.
No.
This one wash out well.
Now stop with our fan now. Make we enjoy this no cinema.
Enjoy up to 12,000 hours of free movies on iFlix in exclusive partnership with Glow.
Fukum assignment. Yeah. You can get Tongio Cafe for free.
For free? Moving some plico, shame baby.
I don't get out.
My not.
Text Buzz to 105 to download Glow Cafe.
The largest data network. Glow, grandmasters of data.
In the Anambra, it's time for change. Let us join the progressive change mantra. Anambra, land of great men and women. Anambra, the land of Tony Nwoye, a visionary leader, young, energetic, focused and humble, tested and trusted. The quintessential great man, Tony Nwoye, the choice of the young and the old, the choice of the masses. Tony Nwoye, the choice of the people, the flag bearer of APC, the bearer of change. Good people of Anambra, it is time to move forward with the dynamic and reliable achiever, Tony Nwoye. The Anambra wants you. Tony Nwoye, the choice of Anambra people. APC, the change is here.
This is the game I've been waiting for, and I get a headache. But I remembered Mom's advice. When headache strikes, I always trust Sudrex. Because Sudrex acts fast to relieve headaches. Sudrex, win your day.
Welcome to Zamfara, where opportunities meet commitment. The more than 6 years of Abdul Aziz Abubakar Yari, the people's governor, reflects new dawn, new opportunities, progress, new hope, and of course, the transformed Zamfara state. Education, health, roads, water supply, and road transformation. Name it. Abdul Aziz Yari leads for others to follow. His vision and mission tied around implementing the President Buhari's change mantra to Zamfara people. Carry on, the people's governor. Zamfara, the pride of the nation. This message is brought to you by Arewa Media Group.
With great honor and privilege, may I, on behalf of my family, the government and the patriotic citizens of Ebonyi State, humbly welcome His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari and Her Excellency Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, wife of the President and First Lady of Nigeria, to a 2-day state visit to Ebonyi State from the 14th to the 15th of November 2017. While in the state, Your Excellencies will bear direct witness to the historical efforts that we have made in the last couple of years to improve the lot of our people and advance the cause of development through your various measures of kindly assistance and support. We will proudly present for Mr. President's commissioning 2 700-meter-long dual carriage flyover bridges along the Trans-Saharan African Highway, the 23.8-kilometer Hilltop Agbajan-Wefe Road, and the 18.5-kilometer road leading to the Federal University Ikwo. 2 federal roads constructed with concrete rigid pavement will also be presented. Our dear President, you and your team are most highly welcome to the salt of the nation. Engineer Dr. David Nwezumahi, Governor of Ebonyi State and Chairman, Southeast Governors Forum.
Thanks for staying with us up to this moment on Weekend File. Now, the 2018 appropriation bill presented to the National Assembly during the week is aimed at addressing 3 key major issues. President Muhammadu Buhari, while presenting the budget of consolidation, focused on the economic recovery after recession, good security, as well as the socio-economic well-being of the citizens. In this report, Musa Babali takes a look at how the government intends to spend and execute major projects as captured in the 2018 fiscal year.
Despite the downturn in oil prices that affected the economy of oil exporting countries, including Nigeria, in the implementation of 2017 Appropriation Act, christened Budget of Recovery and Growth, the federal government was able to drive the country out of recession. The economic growth of Nigeria as at the second quarter of this year stood at 0.55%. This, the government was able to invest over 1.2 trillion naira on capital expenditure under the 2016-2017 budget. The budget of consolidation for the 2018 fiscal year, which will complement the successes recorded on the economic recovery, was laid before the National Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari.
The 2018 budget will consolidate on the achievements of previous budgets and deliver on Nigeria's economic recovery and growth plan 2018 to 2020.
The government plans to spend 8.612 trillion naira next year, a jump of about 16% from the 7.44 trillion naira of 2017. Oil benchmark and production estimate, exchange rate and GDP growth were some of the issues that captured the attention of economy and political analysts.
A situation whereby you have a budget that is quite significantly addressed in the area of capital interventions, then certainly development is bound to thrive.
This exchange rate is one area that government should reasonably look into. So we'll bridge that gap and provide more funding so that we can better drive the economy to come out of recession, to grow now and it's coming out of recession.
And if you consider the average price of oil over the budgeting period, I think 45 makes a lot of sense. We cannot take the extreme highs, neither can we take the extreme lows. We have to take the average.
The President challenged the National Assembly for the quick passage of the budget for implementation. How prepared is the legislative arm?
Well, everything is possible depending on, the cooperative action of all parties concerned. Budget making is not a National Assembly affair alone. In fact, the proposal, the estimates are made by the executive branch. The defense is done by the MDS, and the dusting of all the details, including the approvals of MTF, are done by the National Assembly.
The government earmarked 9.8 billion naira for Mambila hydropower project, 35.4 billion naira for National Housing Program, 10 billion naira for the second Niger Bridge, and 300 billion naira for the construction and rehabilitation of strategic roads nationwide. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Well, thank you, Musa Baba Aliyu, for that background report. Now, moving forward, the 2018 budget as presented is not only timely, but one that has generated reactions from many, especially economic experts. However, what is paramount to Nigerians is the implementation of the appropriation from Lagos. Amechi Piles takes a critical look at the 2018 assumptions and its impact on Nigerians.
Budget size of 8.612 trillion naira, a detailed analysis of the country's revenue expectations for the year 2018. Budget assumptions on oil price was $45 per barrel, oil output 2.3 million barrels per day, exchange rate and 305 naira to the dollar, and a 3.5 GDP growth rate. Economic experts are of the opinion that government's projections are realistic and if achieved will translate to improved economic activities, especially when government concentrates on developing capital projects.
There's a 555 billion allocated to works, housing and power. Of that amount, about 300 billion one can say is meant for road projects. If you rebuild those roads and there's smooth movement of goods and services, it will reduce the cost of goods and services, it will make it easier for people to commute, and ultimately it will lead to an improvement in their standard of living.
Although government has demonstrated commitment to improve on the ease of doing business, they also want critical institutions like the ministry, departments and agencies of government to be strengthened to develop capacity to drive effective implementation of policies.
If the policies are right, then we can boost more private sector capital, to complement whatever the government is putting on the table, to be able to make sure that we give the economy the right kind of push.
Because the process of coming into business is hard. That's what this budget is aiming at, and I believe if they follow through on the promise of the budget, we can now unleash the power of small businesses.
The quality of the budget, its speedy passage by the National Assembly, and the prevailing political commitment and credibility of the present administration, they say, are critical to the success of the 2018 budget. In Lagos, Amechi Piles, NTA News.
And the 2018 budget is also said to cover areas of interest in the southeast zone of the country. And from Enugu, Chinyere Okoye tells us that the people of the zone are happy and hopeful that the full implementation of the budget will go a long way in addressing numerous economic challenges impeding meaningful development in the zone.
The Southeast, made up of 5 states of Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Imo, and Enugu, beyond the industrial nature of the zone, mineral resources are also in abundance waiting to be harnessed. Apart from Aba, the commercial nerve center of Abia State, Nnewi and Onitsha are two major commercial cities in Anambra, contributing to the economic growth of their states through industrialization, job creation, production and supply of goods to the larger markets. There are other towns in the zone that are fast developing into commercial cities. While these growths are recorded, the challenges have become so enormous, ranging from infrastructural decay to huge taxes, which often slow down the wheel of progress. With over 560 billion naira proposed for power, works and housing in the 2018 budget, and over 82 billion naira for industry, trade and investment, many believe the effect will trickle down to the grassroots where the quest for growth is high.
To me, is hope assured in the sense that the budget has shown that there's the light on the end of the tunnel.
Whether it is land acquisition, whether it is road construction, whether it is electricity, as long as you are implementing this infrastructure, you are pumping money into the economy.
They commended the timing of the budget presentation and the prioritization of key projects, especially the ones that were abandoned or listed in previous budgets.
It's coming ahead of time. A situation whereby, like it happened last year, the year will go through to May, July, June, July, and we're not through with the budget. It's not proper.
Many are of the opinion that the budget, if fully funded, the implementation will have great impact on the Southeast zone in general. In Enugu, Chinyere Okoye, NTA News.
Now, residents of Maiduguri are appreciative of efforts of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in combating terrorism and restoration of peace to northeast Nigeria, especially Borno State, which was the epicenter of Boko Haram activities. This came to light considering the attention given to the defense sector and the impact on security. Maimuna Garba tells us more.
It is no longer news that the present administration has accorded so much priority to the security of northeast Nigeria, which is evident in the immediate relocation of Military Command and Control Center to Maiduguri upon assumption of office, improvement of defense allocation in budget, and the recently assented to Northeast Development Commission, which will no doubt transform the zone and ensure residents enjoy absolute peace. This could further be attested to looking at the previous defense budget allocations, where the 2016 budget defense got recurrent expenditure of 294.556 billion naira and 134.572 billion naira as capital vote, while the figure increased in 2017, where a total of 465.87 billion naira was budgeted, with 325.87 billion naira as recurrent vote and 140 billion naira was allocated as the capital allocation. The allocation, however, further increased in the 2018 budget proposal recently presented by the President, which indicated that the defense spending for 2018 will be approximately 600 billion naira out of the 8.612 trillion naira budget.
Whatever amount of money budgeted, if properly utilized, I'm sure before the end of the year 2018, most of these crises will be behind us.
I am positively sure that it will have a very good impact on both the security situation as well as building of destroyed communities.
Without the support of all Nigerians, no matter how much is budgeted for the defense, the campaign against Boko Haram insurgency and any other arms insurrection in the country cannot be solved.
The annual increase in the defense budget is a clear indication of the commitment of the administration to rid the northeast of insecurity. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
The allocation of 505.88 billion naira to the Ministry of Works, Power and Housing, as contained in the 2018 budget proposal presented by President Muhammadu Buhari, has been described by analysts as an action in the right direction. This, they say, is informed by the key position of the sectors in national development. Charles Abba reports.
Over
Over the years, there has been decay in national infrastructure such as roads, electricity supply, and housing across the country, which affected the production capacity of the nation. This also led to high cost of movement of goods and services in all parts of the country as industries spent huge sums of money to carry out production. It is because of this situation that some are of the opinion that the allocation of over 555 billion naira to the Ministry of Works, Power and Housing by President Muhammadu Buhari in the 2018 budget proposal he presented to the National Assembly is a deliberate effort to address the critical infrastructural deficit.
You will know that is the lion's share of the budget, and that tells you the seriousness of government of the day to prioritize infrastructure.
With the already improved power supply in the country and current efforts to increase the transmission and distribution as well as boosting generation to over 7,000 megawatts, the analysts say that this will eventually reduce cost of production and put the nation on the pedestal of industrialization.
I think redirecting focus onto the power sector to ensure that Nigerians now progress from being importers to production or producers of key things that we need.
The allocation, if fully implemented, will certainly address the housing problems in the country to an appreciable level.
Mr. President had promised issues of housing. That was one of his campaign promises. Not think that they are simply relying on what they promised Nigeria and trying to function in that direction. I think it's recommendable.
Because of the previous experiences of delays in the passage of budgets, many people are concerned and have called on the National Assembly to consider the quick passage of the appropriation bill for timely implementation. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Thank you, Charles. You're still watching Weekend File on the NTA network. And now when we return, a specialist on economic matters will be joining me in the studio to dissect the 2018 budget and what Nigerians should expect. Do stay with us.
This must be one of Mother Nature's greatest gifts. But there's something else it gives us. When we see such beauty, we want to share it with those we love. That's what LG wants you to see. Just what we see now, through our technology. LG OLED TV.
Ah, Oka, I don't want the whole car. Oka, I don't. Oka, 500 naira me. Oka, you don't inspire my life.
Adamu, which kind magic 500 naira won't do? You don't even reach you to take carry me comot safe.
Now go there. But he reached me to enter draw to meet with Dangote one-on-one.
With the FGNI app and just 500 naira, you stand a chance to meet one-on-one with Alhaji Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man. As the Be Inspired meetings gives Nigerians a chance to meet one-on-one with icons. To qualify for the draw, download FGNI app from Apple Store or Google Play Store. Go to the Be Inspired section and follow the instructions. Cost of travel and accommodation of all winners within Nigeria will be borne by the organizers.
Entries close at midnight on Sunday, 12th of November, 2017.
Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Now with me in the studio is Eze Onyekbere. Eze Onyekbere is an economic analyst. You're welcome to Weekend File, Eze.
My pleasure.
All right. Now, the early presentation of the budget by President Muhammadu Buhari has been commended by many Nigerians. And I ask you this question to ask you what is the implication of this because of the overlapping nature of Nigeria's budgeting system over the years.
Well, I must say that it's commendable that the budget was brought to the National Assembly in the early days of November, although ideally it should have been brought there by September or thereabout, because we need to restore the fiscal and budget year to that anticipated in the Financial Year Act and Section 318 of the Constitution, which defines the financial year as the period between the 1st of January and the 31st of December. So it's a welcome development. And I hope the National Assembly should seize on it and be able to see how far they can go to walk through the budget to an advanced stage before they go on their Christmas and New Year vacation. Because if you look at the trajectory of what they've been doing in the past couple of years, I don't expect them to pass the budget before the end of the 2017, because they have to first of all approve the MTEF, which hasn't been approved, before they go into the budget.
So it's expected again that we're going to have another overlapping.
Yeah, maybe if they work so hard enough, maybe late January, early February, the budget should be out. But that still doesn't stop. It will be an improvement on previous years when you have the budget starting like this year. The budget started in June, or last year started in May.
Now, with regards to the spread of projects as contained in this budget, I do believe, quite frankly, that you have read through the budget and know what the projects are all about. People say that these projects are well spread across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. What's your take?
I think beyond the question of whether the projects are spread, I think that we should also look at the entire envelope that we are trying to spread. For me, that envelope is very small because of the way we've structured ourselves, the low tax to GDP ratio. But the important ball game is, yes, you put down capital expenditure at 30%. We've had this story all over the years from the previous administration, but how much of it in terms of implementation do we get at the end of the day? So that is what we should be more concerned about, because, for instance, in 2017, we put down 2.174 trillion as the capital budget. But as of today, we are told only 450 billion has been released, which is roughly about 20% of the overall envelope. And so with that kind of performance, it's not something that is encouraging. 20% is not a pass mark. And if you look at the trajectory of what has happened since June and move it down to December, probably we may end up, if we do 30%, we pat ourselves on the back. But 30%, mind, is not a pass mark.
All right. Finance and economic experts commended the federal government, for increasing allocation to some key sectors such as housing, works, power, right, trade and investment, and others. Now, why the budget was crafted? It's been crafted to stimulate growth, they say. How would you assess the kind of allocation made to these key sectors?
Now, the allocation should be contextualized within the big envelope, the big Nigerian envelope, which is roughly about $28 billion if you use 305 naira to the dollar. And then if you use 360, which is what everybody gets the dollar at, is about 23, 24. And if you divide that by 180 million Nigerians, you are getting roughly about 47,000. Angola is budgeting over 100 billion. South Africa is doing much more. So, and we call ourselves the giant of Africa. So not much is happening in terms of our budget. So if you look at works, power, and housing, these are the 3 key sectors that can drive Nigeria to a developmental stage where we move out of where we are currently. And $555 billion naira, if you divide it into dollars, is less than $2 billion. And by the time you share it out to the 3 sectors, you are getting about 160, 170 billion naira at the most, which is roughly $500 million. And that cannot solve the challenges in those sectors. And that's why, for me, it is not a question of appropriation. It is a question of what I call the big picture. And that big picture is domestic resource mobilization, which is beyond the budget. How can you mobilize the money, the energy, and the resources of Nigerians available to move those sectors, housing, roads, works, railways, power, and get them working, because that's what moves every other country. It's not about the budget. The budget is too small to move Nigeria to the next level.
Now, you talked about revenue sourcing, source of revenue, the actual money needed to carry out this project. Now, the revenue projection is predicated on a crude oil price benchmark of $45,
which makes sense. Which makes sense
per barrel, and many economists are saying that it is not realistic.
No. What is not realistic is not the price of the crude oil. Considering where the crude oil price is today, 60-something, and $45 per barrel makes eminent sense. What is not realistic is the quantum of production, which is $2.3 million per barrel. Currently, we are doing 1.9, and the 2017 budget was predicated on 2.2, and we were begging OPEC because of the recession, which they granted us in January and granted us again in September, to say, allow us to do 2.2 or whatever we can do to get out of recession. And OPEC graciously granted us that allowance at the time they were asking every other country to cut down. Now, why will we now move from 2.2 to 2.3? And even the actual production is 1.9. So, in essence, we are saying that between now and January, we are going to increase our production by 400,000 barrels, which for me is not feasible. Assuming if we had the technology and if we are feasible to do it, how will other OPEC members react to that? So that's my challenge. The $45 per barrel is realistic, but the production quantum is what I don't consider.
Now, how realistic is that? You know, following the nature of oil prices, you know, which is quite unsteady.
Well, for now, it seems where it is, it could sustain based on the projections of top economies and what the IMF World Bank has told us. But that should also not mean that we should lose our guard, you know, because the important thing for me is the projection for non-oil revenue, the tax revenue and all those, which is like almost 4.1 trillion, as again 2 point something for oil and gas revenue. But then the question comes back to how realistic are those projections? Because some of the projections we are hoping to get money from recoveries. And we've been told a lot that the AFCC has recovered a lot of money. But as of June, when they drew up the medium-term expenditure framework 2018-2020, nothing has come in from recoveries. And we are not so sure how much has come in. Even the independent revenue the federal government is expecting, the president told us it underperformed by 74%, quoting his budget speech. So some of us are worried about where these monies are going to come from. Yeah, and then the bigger, that's why I keep repeating the big picture. The big picture is about a big dream from the leadership, the charisma and ability to sell it through, and the whole idea of transparency and accountability that, you know, if you pay your tax, if you pay your VAT, everything, that the money will come back to reflect in your standard of living. And that's the only way we can make progress. And that big picture comes back to things I can tell you about here today. The National Housing Fund, done under Babangida's days, why is it collapsing? Why doesn't it have trillions at the National Pension Fund? Why don't we have a road fund to build road infrastructure like in other countries and a road management authority? Why do we keep insisting government has to pay for health at a time? Yeah, government has to bring money. Why don't we have universal compulsory health insurance scheme? If you buy a Tokumbo vehicle, which most Nigerians are driving, you can't be allowed to drive it on the road without it being insured, even if it is third party. Now, the police will arrest you, and then, but you are driving that car based on the fulcrum of the right to life and the right to health, because you are alive, you are healthy. If you're not healthy and alive, you can't drive a car. So why can't you put down money in health insurance, make it compulsory and universal? Because government trumpets universal health coverage, and there is no money. Why shouldn't we be made to contribute money?
All right, all right.
That's the big picture.
Let's now look at the practical aspect of what was presented to the National Assembly on what the government intends to do by 2018 in terms of a practical aspect of implementation. Now, talking about having crop processing zones in the 6 geopolitical zones of this country, how much would that add up, you know, to the implementation process of this very budget?
Well, the agricultural sector is one sector from the previous administration a lot of focus has been on. And we are talking about the whole value chain of agriculture. If you have crop processing zones, you have electricity to process whatever process to, you know, save them, market them properly, not quite like the yam we sent to Europe which didn't come out, process them into intermediate products and raw materials and even finished products, then there will be a lot of hope. It's a wonderful idea. It's about the whole value chain of agriculture, but it needs other sectors like electricity and power, transportation to support agriculture for agriculture. And then the value added in terms of the technology to be able to add value from primary production to finished production. What we need now is not to say, oh, we must produce more cocoa, we must produce more rubber, we must produce more cashew and granite. These are wonderful ideas. All the cocoa produced in West Africa, right? What we sell them in the international market doesn't add up to what one chocolate company in Switzerland makes us profit. So Nigeria should go beyond the usuals, the ideas of 1960-63. We are in 2017, going to 2018. We should wake up and smell the roses.
Well, now let's talk about allocation now to some other vital sectors such as education. Many Nigerians are saying that enough is not budgeted for
education and health.
And health, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, at the AU summit in 2001, heads of state,
15%, 15%.
exactly.
Abuja declaration.
Yes.
It wasn't anywhere. We did it in Abuja.
Exactly, and it's 15%.
Good.
And,
we did 4.15% last year. This year we are doing 3.9%.
So it's pretty much less than what
we have put Nigeria on the reverse gear. I mean, I feel so passionate about health that when you begin to open that chapter, it's going to take us a whole day. But my take on health is that clear. You cannot do that retrogression. The last multi-cluster indicator survey done showed that we have only 33% coverage for immunization. Our maternal and child health indicators are very low and poor. We are contributing close to 30-40% of the whole world. People, women dying while giving birth, children dying before they grow up. Now, what is the challenge? We are not dedicating enough resources. The one we are dedicating to are not managing. So, why are we reducing the investment on health? At a time, even donors, the people who used to fund our immunization are withdrawing.
Now, to close this conversation, on this edition of the program, look at the budget holistically and tell us what is good about this budget.
The fact that we submitted early is good. The fact that we are doing social intervention programs is good. But we must no longer allow our budget to become just mere estimates. We must make it an empirically based budget so that whatever we project will be realized and then implemented.
Within the period?
Yeah, within the period. Because the challenge we have is like this year, we will always pay salaries. If they don't pay salaries, you will complain. We will always draw down overheads. We will service debts. And then whatever is remaining after all this will now be used for capital expenditure. And unfortunately, the money is not usually enough. So capital expenditure suffers. So let us try and realize our budget so that salaries will be paid, debts will be paid, overhead will be drawn down, and capital expenditure will be
handled. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis on this. Eze Onyekmere is an economic analyst. I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts, your economic thoughts, on this edition of Weekend File. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
All right, sports is next on Weekend File. Do stay with us.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes, germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, is working to ensure access to safe, good quality essential medicines with the World Health Organization pre-qualification of Made in Nigeria pharmaceutical products, stiffer penalties for fake drug offenders with a review of NAFDAC laws, national, regional, and international collaborations, cutting-edge technologies, including the mobile authentication service.
The production and distribution of counterfeit medicine and adulterated food products have negative impact on our health and economy as a whole. I urge all Nigerians to support NAFDAC in safeguarding our health. God bless Nigeria.
Let us support NAFDAC to win the war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
Now sports, with their unique technology that allows digital television to be offered to subscribers at affordable prices, StarTimes says as the official broadcaster of the FIFA 2018 World Cup, Nigerians and some African countries will enjoy every bit of the action from Russia. Adiola Mokibi was at the StarTimes 2018 World Cup kickoff in Lagos and now reports.
Every World Cup year, there is the tussle for being the official broadcaster, and for StarTimes, being the official broadcaster of FIFA 2018 World Cup in Russia is a huge